The airport terminal pulsed with the rhythm of hurried footsteps and distant announcements. But for Malik, it was a moment of quiet triumph. Clutching his first-class boarding pass, earned through years of relentless hustle, he approached the gate with a sense of belonging he rarely felt. Suddenly, a flight attendant's voice sliced through the air. "Sir, there's an issue with your ticket. You can't board here." Heads turned, eyes lingered with unspoken judgments, and Malik's chest tightened under the weight of familiar scrutiny. In that instant, humiliation threatened to eclipse his hard-won success. But what if one simple phone call could unravel the injustice and expose a deeper truth? The answer would change everything. Malik Thompson, a 38-year-old corporate lawyer, had built his career brick by brick in a world that often seemed designed to hold him back. Raised in a modest neighborhood by immigrant parents from Nigeria, he learned early on that excellence wasn't always enough. His skin color often invited doubt where others found doors wide open. From top grades in law school to arguing cases in boardrooms dominated by white faces, Malik had navigated microaggressions with a steely resolve, turning slights into fuel for his ambition. Today marked a pinnacle, a transatlantic flight to seal a major deal for his firm, and he'd treated himself to first class, a symbol of arrival, a brief escape from the grind. The airport was a hive of activity, with the scent of fresh-baked pretzels mingling with jet fuel, and travelers rushing past in a blur of suits and carry-ons. Malik's own suit was impeccably tailored, his briefcase polished to a shine, reflecting the discipline that defined him. As he queued at the gate, he noticed the subtle shifts, a passenger glancing twice, a security guard's lingering gaze. But he pushed it aside, focusing on the excitement ahead. When the flight attendant scanned his pass, her expression hardened. "This can't be right," she muttered, waving him to the side. Confusion washed over Malik as he watched others, predominantly white professionals board without a hitch. The attendant's tone grew firmer. "We've overbooked first class. You'll have to downgrade." No explanation, no alternatives offered to anyone else. Malik's mind flashed to similar moments. Being followed in stores, questioned at networking events. Was this random, or rooted in the biases he'd fought his whole life? His hand instinctively reached for his phone, fingers trembling slightly. One call to his mentor might clarify things, or ignite a firestorm. Standing isolated by the gate, Malik felt the terminal's vastness shrink around him, the fluorescent lights casting harsh shadows that mirrored his growing unease. The flight attendant's dismissal lingered like a bad taste, her eyes avoiding his as she busied herself with paperwork. Malik politely requested more details, his lawyer's training kicking in to keep his voice even. But inside, a storm brewed. "It's just a seating error," she claimed, but her words rang false. Why him? He scanned the boarding line again, affluent travelers, all white, gliding through unchallenged. The injustice gnawed at him, a reminder of how racial biases masqueraded as protocols. A supervisor arrived, her badge identifying her as Ms. Harlan, with a practiced smile that didn't reach her eyes. She echoed the attendant's vague excuses, overbooking, priority reallocations. But as Malik pressed for transparency, cracks appeared. No records showed an overbook, and her offers, a middle seat in coach, a meager voucher, felt like insults. "We appreciate your understanding," she said, but Malik heard the subtext, "Comply quietly." His pulse raced, memories flooding back, the time a colleague joked about his urban background, or when a judge mistook him for the defendant. These weren't isolated. They were threads in a tapestry of systemic exclusion. Malik stepped further aside, the crowd's murmurs amplifying his isolation. He thought of his family, his mother's sacrifices cleaning offices so he could attend better schools, his father's warnings about a world that saw black men as threats. This seat wasn't just comfort, it was validation. Losing it here, publicly, chipped at that. As the boarding progressed, urgency mounted. His client meeting loomed. Jet lag from coach could dull his edge, but more than that, surrendering felt like erasing his progress. He pulled out his phone, scrolling to Evelyn's contact. His mentor, a trailblazing civil rights attorney who'd shattered glass ceilings and mentored countless like him. She'd taught him that silence perpetuated inequality. But doubt crept in. Would involving her escalate things unnecessarily? Make him seem difficult? The supervisor returned, pressuring him to accept the downgrade. "The flight's about to close," she urged. Malik's fingers hovered over the dial button, the weight of decision heavy. In that tense pause, he reflected on broader implications. How many others endured this daily, without recourse? The airline's polished facade hid uglier truths, and Malik realized this moment could expose them. With a deep breath, he pressed call, the ringtone cutting through the din like a lifeline. The call connected swiftly, Evelyn's voice a beacon of calm authority amid the chaos. Malik recounted the ordeal in hushed tones, detailing the selective enforcement and the supervisors' evasions. Evelyn listened intently, her experience honing in on the red flags of discrimination. "Hold your ground," she advised. "I have a contact on the airline's board, someone who owes me a favor from a past case." Moments later, the supervisor's phone buzzed insistently. She answered, her composure fracturing as the voice on the other end, Evelyn's high-level connection, demanded explanations. Malik observed from afar, his heart thundering, as Ms. Harlan's face drained of color. She gestured frantically to the attendant, whispering urgently. The gate area, once routine, now hummed with tension. Passengers paused, sensing the shift. The supervisor approached Malik, her tone transformed, apologetic, almost deferential. "There's been a misunderstanding," she stammered, printing a new boarding pass. Not just any seat, the premium first-class pod he'd originally booked. But the reversal went deeper. Whispers of an immediate internal review reached him, with terms like bias training and formal complaint floating in the air. The airline's regional director was looped in, promising swift action. Malik boarded last, the crew's eyes averted, the weight of accountability palpable. This wasn't mere accommodation. It was a concession to the power of advocacy, a crack in the veneer of institutional indifference that had nearly crushed him. As the plane ascended, Malik sank into his seat, the hum of engines a soothing contrast to the ground's turmoil. The luxury he'd earned enveloped him, but the victory carried layers of complexity. It wasn't just about reclaiming a seat. It was about challenging a system that defaulted to exclusion. Evelyn's call had leveraged networks built from decades of fighting similar battles, highlighting how access to power could tip scales often rigged against people of color. By landing, the incident had snowballed. Fellow passengers witnessing the drama shared accounts online, tagging the airline and using hashtags like #travel_while_black. Media outlets picked up the story, amplifying voices of others with parallel experiences, denied services, profiled at checkpoints. The airline responded with a public statement, an apology to Malik, commitments to diversity audits, and mandatory training for staff. But Malik knew apologies were easy. Real change required vigilance. In the days that followed, Malik's client deal closed successfully, but the true impact resonated personally. He shared his story in a firm-wide email, sparking discussions on implicit bias. Evelyn praised his poise, noting how one act of resistance could inspire many. Yet Malik pondered the unseen, those without mentors, without the luxury of first class to begin with, facing daily erasures. How many flights, jobs, opportunities were lost to unchecked prejudice? This tale isn't unique, but it's a call to action. In a world quick to judge based on appearance, standing firm can dismantle barriers. What if we all question the protocols that perpetuate inequality? Malik's one call didn't shut down an airline, but it ignited a conversation that could change how we fly and how we see each other. Reflect on this. In moments of injustice, will you make the call?